Welcome to Hacking Music. I'm your host, John Pashada. The goal of this podcast is to break off a piece of the hacking music training we use and train artists in every day to master the best of what other headliner artists have already figured out so that you can unlock your potential. Additionally, we interview world-class artists and entrepreneurs, doers and thinkers so that you can better analyze your problems, seize your opportunities, and master your decision-making and execution. Every episode is packed with training, lessons, and force multipliers that never expire. And if you're listening to this, you're missing out. If you'd like members-only training and exclusive content, you can join at hacking-music.com. Check out the show notes for a link. Sherry Parfait is here today. Sherry runs Parfait Media, and I wanted to talk to her because I'm interested in how she ran media for 20 labels. We talked about differentiation, business development, modern messaging, and gobbledygook words that really sound impressive, but they don't mean anything. So I wanted to wrestle those down to earth and really talk about what they mean on a day-to-day level for her and the artists she works with. So let's go there. This episode is sponsored by ArtistWorks, a record label as a service company. They partner with artists, filmmakers, authors, and companies to create products and experiences that engage your customers, drive revenue, build careers, and surpass your competitors. Unite and conquer with ArtistWorks.
Jumping on and talking about this. This will be fun.
And by the way, I really enjoyed reading the book because I'm a visual learner. So all the illustrations helped me. And I'm like, oh, it helped me to explain that to other people.
Yeah. Most artists are visual learners. Something about the DNA of
being a creative person.
Yeah. It's show me visually and I got it. But if you read it, forget it.
Absolutely.
Hello, happy people. Welcome to this episode of Hacking Music, the habits of headliners. And we've got a really special conversation we're going to have here with a good friend of mine. Her name's Sherry Parfait. And I can't wait for you to be part of this conversation. But before we jump in, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button below. We're going to be releasing new videos probably every Friday, all about building the next generation of healthy, more profitable artists, and do it in a way that is low bullshit, real world, actionable, 100% actionable. So if that's something you're into and it makes your tail wag, you should definitely hit the subscribe button below. So real quick, let me tell you a little bit about Sherry, and then we'll bring her on and start the conversation here. Sherry Parfait is a PR strategist expert. She's worked in product development. She's coached small businesses. She's worked at EMI for a number of years and kind of been responsible for touching 19, 20 labels at one time. So she has a lot of information that she's kind of organized and brought together that I think is going to be very beneficial to the next generation of artists. So Sherry, very excited to have this conversation with you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's give people kind of an idea of kind of how you got where you are. Can you give our listeners a little backstory?
Well, I'll share with you. I've had an interest in the music business since I was really young because my dad was a musician, and I loved reading the jackets and the cassettes back then when cassettes were a thing. That's how old I am. I was just fascinated with all the ins and outs and what a publisher was and what a record company was. I was just curious. And so I was actually studying broadcast journalism in college. And then my parents decided to move to Nashville, nothing to do with the music business, but I decided to tag along. I was in college here in New Orleans and somehow found out about MTSU through a contact and saw that they had a broadcast program, but also had the music business program. So I was instantly intrigued and don't regret it. I got my degree in music business from Middle Tennessee State University, and it's paid off. And I'm thankful for that education today because it's fun, it's interesting. It's also exciting to see what the artists have been doing, and particularly artists from that program. Of course, Belmont, I know you're affiliated with Belmont, John, but to see that these artists are using those tools that were taught in those classes. So that I also took into my career in the music business. and got a job at EMI in their Christian music division while I was attending Middle Tennessee State. And I had to quit quit school so I could take the job because I couldn't juggle both. It was such a high demand job in marketing, but I'm grateful for it because I learned a ton at the ins and outs of the music business. Working for the top record company in the whole world was an exciting experience, and still have those relationships today.
Yeah.
So but the music business has evolved, and so I've been keeping up the best I could with the evolution.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think we originally met probably, 10 years ago at, if I remember right, it was Entrepreneurs Organization. It was a dinner. I think we met briefly then, and then we've kind of reconnected recently after we had launched the Hacking Music book originally, and now the Hacking Music training. So
Yes.
I know you.
By the way, congratulations on the book, because I was instantly intrigued. It kind of just feeds into my curiosity about the music business.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and we're touching a lot of artists who are outside of Nashville, London, Russia, kind of all over the world. So it's been awesome. A lot of fun. So, so you talk a lot about launching a music career, and you've kind of put together 3 kind of buckets that you've found over the last years of being a professional. What works and what doesn't. Yeah. So can you kind of step us through that basic? Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, when I left EMI, did marketing for Gaither Music Group as well, Bill and Gloria Gaither's record company. And after that, I went into freelancing because I wanted to work with small business owners outside the music business. That was just something I had a genuine interest in, and to take what I learned from the music business and help others with it, because I realized they really were advanced back then in what they were doing. And I saw that, wow, there's small businesses that could use some of the same principles. And so now it has turned around where I'm like, oh gosh, there's small business principles that music artists need. So just kind of evolved in my career in coaching small business owners and helping them with media relations and business development, some advertising as well. That's what I had been doing since at least 2003, 2005, in that area. Just working with small businesses like doctors, interior designers, and some music artists along the way. So it's been a variety of people that I've worked with, and tailoring marketing plans to their needs. Some had brick and mortar establishments that we would promote, so it required local marketing.
When you say media relations and business development, some of these terms kind of turn into gobbledygook. So can you brush what do you mean when you say?
Well, let's focus on business development.
So, business development. I mean, that's a squishy word, but what does that look like in the real world?
Yeah. So to put it in simpler terms, you are you have a product. You're a music artist. You have a song, and you want others to hear your song, and you got to promote it some way. Promotion is a common term that we use just generally and loosely here. So business development kind of is involved with promotion. That's how you develop the business part of selling. So it involves selling as well. I sell as a publicist through storytelling. Also with marketing, it could be, hey, I've got to create visuals, like marketing materials, like a sign, or a sticker that's got a promotional price point. So if you're promoting your song, you got to create marketing materials with graphic design. So I've worked with a lot of graphic designers over the years who much better designers than I am, but I could tell them, hey, I need this for, I need a sticker, a $1.99 sticker or something for a CD. Today, you would need it online. You'd create a little label. So business development really kind of entails a lot of promotion, and we'll talk more about that. But media relations is working with the news media, so specifically news media, where you are writing a press release and you're sending it out to, say, a reporter or even a TV anchor if you had that contact, a talent booker, and a producer. So there's a variety of who we call stakeholders. These are the media gatekeepers are like the producers and the talent bookers. You want to get on a local TV show, that would involve media relations. So you want to perform your song live on TV. I know in Nashville, there's the show Today in Nashville or Talk of the Town. Those are great shows for that. Then you would need to either book it with their talent booker or with one of the hosts who also do the booking.
Right.
So that's what media relations is. It also includes another term called media placement. That's what it is. So the media relations is the relationship part. The placement is the actual booking,
right,
where you're placed on TV and you're in the studio. That's what we call a placement.
And how surgical is that? I mean, do you go wide and say, okay, I'm going to get this product, this artist, I want to get them to 2,000 destinations, or do you say, you know what, I just want to focus on the Southeast? Or do you even go more surgical and say, you know what, we need to hit Nashville and Austin. That's it. I mean, what is that?
It involves strategy. So you have to really think about strategy and who you want your audience or who you consider your audience to be. So before you decide to go broad or go small, you got to decide, hey, who do I want to target? If you don't already know who your listening audience is, then say, like, if you have like a ballad, it might be considered adult contemporary. And so you got to think, what's the local adult contemporary station that I can send my song to? I want them to play my song. Well, that's where you would be strategic. So that in that sense, you would go to a very limited market. If you are lucky enough to have distribution or a record deal that has contacts across the country with radio stations across the country, then you can do that. You can go broad. So there's not a one size fits all. You just try something and see if that works. And if it doesn't work, move on to another strategy. So you develop strategies along and see what works. So, but there's a method to the madness. There's a science. I tell people that, marketing, publicity, there really is principles you need to learn before you try to execute anything.
That's great. That's great. So you talk about promotions, PR. What does that look like day to day for you? How do you get in the head of an artist to really get on board and really hit the target? I mean, what goes into that for you?
Well, I have my own method that I've been using, and every artist that I work with, I don't act like I know more than them about their music. I tell them to tell me, what are you trying to convey? What's the story you're trying to tell your listeners? What's the point you're trying to get across? Write it down in bullet points for me, because that's how I get in their head. Before I can write a press release, I need content, I need information, and I need lots of information to tell a story. So every single artist, I say, what do you think is your hit song, or what can be your hit song that stands out to you the most? I'll listen and I can pick my own, but I want you to tell me what you think about this song and how you feel about it. Write it down on paper. It doesn't have to be formal. Just put your thoughts on paper for me. I can interpret it for the professional setting. And that's always worked, because I develop press releases by doing that, and I can pull direct quotes from that. And that's how I end up writing a press release, or I call them news releases, but that's the same thing, news release, press release. So I want the artist to feel like they are very involved with what I'm doing. I don't even send a press release out without an artist or any client approving what I send out, because I need more than one pair of eyes looking at what I write.
Right.
And make sure that it sounds correct and it's factual more than anything.
Yep. How do you, Sherry, how do you get above the noise? Because there's a lot of, it's said that 70,000 songs are released every day. So just because you release a song doesn't, for baby art, developing artists down at the bottom here,
Correct.
It doesn't really make it newsworthy. So how do you help artists raise their bar as far as telling their story and really becoming newsworthy and not just overly precious about, hey, I just wrote a song, look at me. You know, what is
Well,
that?
there are journalism principles. I'm also trained as a journalist, so
Yeah.
I write my press releases as a news article. I've always done that. I got my journalism training before I became a publicist, so I
Right.
know what reporters are looking for, at least the principles and that contribute to them telling the story in their medium. The timeliness, that's, you have to consider timeliness. You've got to consider, more than anything, uniqueness. What is unique about who you are and what you do, that sets you apart from everybody else, because that's what makes for an interesting news story or an interesting feature story. For example, there's an artist in Nashville named Irinka who I've worked with in different projects. She's amazing live. She sings in 4 languages. She's a go-getter. She's built her own website. She even produced her own music video, and it was just featured at the International Film Festival in Franklin, Tennessee, just recently. But she did that on her own. So I pull those things from her because she's just a go-getter. And we were discussing promoting this music video. So I was looking at it and said, well, here's what's unique about it. She actually filmed the whole thing in black light and glow in the dark paint at a studio in Louisville, Kentucky. So I could pitch it to the media there and also to music media as well. But that makes for an interesting story because she did it on a shoestring budget. And right. She was successful. So this is something that, hey, she's got a great story to tell to encourage other music artists. They can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need a $50,000 budget for a music video. She did it with, I think, maybe $5,000. And that was raised through crowdfunding.
Right.
And she's just said that her music video was picked up for a film festival in Greece and other places because it's very unique. It's a unique production. Like
mm-hmm. So a 3.5-minute music video has been picked up for a film festival viewing. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's because it's a very unique production and she's got an interesting story to tell. Yeah. So that's what artists need to think, when I'm telling my story to the media or my music, I want to tell them my story. I want to tell them, hey, how I struggled with this and I overcame this to get the song out. I did this, whatever. All the principles involved. Even if you put it on YouTube and you got 1 million views somehow, it went viral. That's a unique success story that needs to be told. And you don't have to write a full paragraph form press release. Just write down bullet points, because I tell you, that helps the reporters, and they thank me for sending them bullet points.
Yeah.
So,
and you mentioned what reporters or media outlets are looking for. Mm-hmm. Talk about that. What are they, I know they need to fill up, they have X amount of slots. They need to talk about something every day. What have
the term they use, and all people, every client, I tell them, what I'm giving you them has to be newsworthy. That's the term the media uses. So I have to make what you're doing sound newsworthy. Yeah. And it's like, I got to think as you, what you're thinking, and I have to think, put myself in their shoes and see, this is what they're looking for. This is what makes it newsworthy. So yeah, I have my basic journalism principles I use to develop a press release, but through that, I'm developing a newsworthy story because I want to get you on TV. I want to get you in a magazine or in the local newspaper. Here's what's unique. And then some of it's just breaking news. If there is something that's relevant at the moment for their market, they'll publish it right away. More often than not, they'll publish my press release as it is because I'm writing as a journalist.
Copy and paste.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can take everything and just.
Very rarely will I not see it as that, if they have to pull out things just to save space, they will, but I structure it in a way so that it helps them and simplify it for them, for their space.
Yeah.
For their allotted space.
Right. That's great.
And I'll use an example too. Like recently we had, I worked with a music artist here in New Orleans who was a victim of Hurricane Ida. She was in New York City and as a client of a retailer of their jewelry store, and she was looking for a nonprofit to help. Well, it just so happened she found out about my Native American tribe here through someone in Alaska, of all places, via TikTok. She didn't know anything about my tribe, even though she lives here in New Orleans, and the tribe is just, an hour's drive away from here. So through that, we connected in Facebook, and I partnered with her to get the word out about what she was doing. She was partnering with this jewelry store, Kendra Scott, in New York City, to raise money for my tribe. And I'm like, well, I'll get the word out. Awesome. Well, fortunately, the newspaper ran it, the media picked it up. Yeah, it's great PR for her, but she's just the performer wanting to help. Yeah. And so that was an opportunity, that was a timely thing, because the media here were like, hey, we know people are trying to raise money to help the citizens who are impacted by this hurricane. It's so widespread. Mm-hmm. So it was easy to get that into the news media. That's an example you can do. Yeah. Timeliness, the timeliness factor.
Yeah, I love that. So you mentioned and talk about marketing skills, like essential marketing skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So let me just start with this to back up. Even public relations, media relations, music publicity are a part of the bigger framework of marketing and what's called the promotions mix. You'll learn that in Marketing 101 if you're taking a marketing class. They're one aspect of marketing. So there's also what advertising is an aspect of marketing, direct selling, which is now, the influencer marketing that has become a big thing, especially in the past 10 years. Sales promotions, where you're doing discounted pricings and, percentage off or lower limited time price point thing. And PR is a part of that as well. So there's a promotions mix, and you can Google it now. You can see these principles all over Google and right. See what they are. And I would recommend that you as an artist would take time to learn those things. You may not be able to do them all, and understanding that you're busy like I am, but understanding them and being able to talk with someone who can do that for you will help you in the long run, help you grow your music business career as not just as an artist, but as a professional.
What do you think for an artist who's just kind of raising their bar and competing at a higher level? I mean, you talked about the promotions mix and promotion stack, a lot of things in that. Mm-hmm. What do you think is kind of the first essential, like focus on X, what is that? Is it direct marketing?
Yeah. Well, let's start with this. The most important thing is having quality product, that it's put in a quality packaging or medium. So whatever you're presenting out there, if it's a song, make sure that the production sounds great. It doesn't have to be expensive production as in a recording studio. You can do it in your home, but you have to think, if I'm putting out this is my product, my song is my product, I want it played on the local radio station, for example. Well, I've got to shorten it to a certain length. So I've got to write it first to make sure that it's in a limited time, allotted time frame, and then make sure that, the progressions and everything just comes together. So the product, just think quality product is the most important thing.
100%. I've heard it said that nothing sells product like product.
Yes,
it's
I agree.
Like,
if you had no advertising and your product was quality, somebody could just be surfing YouTube and see it. They like it, they'll share it, and they'll, oh, I heard this great song, word of mouth. That's another marketing principle. So you don't have to go spend a ton of money on advertising. Direct selling, that's what you would be doing when you put your social media pages up, you put your YouTube account up, and you're telling your friends and everyone hey, come listen to my new song, blah, 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 blah. Or if you're even going to the local record store and you have your CD, you put your own artwork on it, you take it to the local record store. Here we have Peaches Records, and they sell all kind of cool records. Well, they may be able to, they like it enough, they'll carry it in the store.
Sure.
So, but there's also, with the promotions mix is, it helps you to use more, it's like tools. Those are your tools. So when you get that product in the store, you got to figure out how you're going to promote it, right? That's when you want to go to radio, do basic things, going to perform more than anything. Right now, performing is the big thing, for getting the word out. And so book yourself in coffee shops, bars, wherever you can get into play, because I know that's what you really want to do is perform. So when you are developing a product, I always tell my clients, make sure you have any form of distribution outlet, whether it is a record store or it is online. You got to have a distribution outlet to send your fans or your customers to purchase your product. That's the selling aspect of it. Always have that. I would set that up first before I would even execute the promotions. So it's like a revolving circle. You need one to help the other. You got to have all of these components. So that's all part of business development, and writing a business plan or marketing plan would help you, because you need all these tools in some form or fashion. These promotion mix aspects are tools to help you be successful.
Tactical question for you, Sherry.
Mhm.
If you have a social media campaign or a live stream campaign, how often do you always put the purchase link in what we call evergreen content, or do you do it every third post? What's too much? What is too aggressive? What have you found that is the right?
I would say post it at least 2 times. I would always start, say if I'm posting something that's either a press release or looks like a press release, I would start with at least a paragraph, 1 or 2 or 3 sentences, and maybe put a link there. And then always at the end, I do that with the press releases. I'll put a link. That's my call to action, because you always want to provide a call to action for your listeners or for your fan base. That's the distribution outlet. That's your call to action. So that link, I would say put it, you can put it after the first paragraph. Provide other links, anything where if you can't fit all the details in the press release, link it to your website where you would have a full-length bio that would tell your full background story.
Yeah.
That, and that doesn't even have to be in paragraph form. That could be in bullet point form, if that's easier for you to do. Some people are just like that. It's easier for them to write their thoughts like an outline.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I'm that way too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So other marketing tools that you use, what would have
Remember, I would say I always try to focus on what's unique, whether it's a music artist or a small business. What's unique about what you're offering? For music artists, it could be your sound, it could be your look, and it could be your platform if you're especially involved with nonprofit, or even say if you perform for like military functions, that sort of thing, and you tailor your music that way. Well, that's how you can get bookings. If people know that you are pro-military and you're going to say like perform USO type events, so to speak, that's something unique about you. A lot of people get booked that way. You don't necessarily have a big record deal either for that.
Yeah.
So I know here along the coast, there's several casinos. Well, the artists here in Louisiana book themselves at the casinos. And, they can pack out an auditorium over there because there's people going to, they're going for a weekend at the casino. They'll come from Texas, Mississippi, Florida for that. They don't necessarily have big record deals. So you can make money doing that, but it's now, performing, that's where people are making their money, is performing. But remember that you want to be unique. So your sound, your voice, that's how people identify you. Your look, I say, for example, Ariana Grande has that ponytail. Honestly, I never recognized her without that ponytail. I could not even spot her anywhere. So that makes her memorable, but her voice is also unique and memorable. There's no one like her. So that's an example of uniqueness. Like Irinka, for example, she promotes that she sings in 4 languages. Well, she's always booking herself in Nashville to perform for Bastille Day, and she'll do French music live, and City Winery. She's done a few gigs there too. So that's an example. This other artist that I work with here, Samantha Pearl, that did the promotion for my tribe, She signed to a record label that's based in Germany. So she travels to Europe a lot to perform. That's where her big following is. But she's also performing here around New Orleans. So, but she's Native American. And she is an amazing guitar player. She could play with the best of them. She's like a Sheryl Crow, Bonnie Raitt.
Nice.
Anyway, you think of women playing rock, she can do that. But she has her Native American look. So she had been told in the past, she needed to change her look, but she's like, she didn't want blonde hair. She's got long, straight brown hair, and she's happy with that. And she's doing her thing, but she's doing it all on her own here, booking herself. Yeah. So she's very talented. So your talent, that's your uniqueness factor. That's one uniqueness factor, your look and what you stand for. So I would say those three things, just pick from any of those to develop your uniqueness or your it factor, as that term is used. But
yeah, I love it. So you mentioned mindset shift.
Mm-hmm. Mindset shift is when you go from just being an amateur artist to a business person, a serious music business person. Going to Nashville, it's like an awakening experience, because I was just interested in music when I decided to go to school there. I had no idea what the music business was. I didn't know anything about it until I went to college and I started studying. And I'm like, oh gosh, these are like real business people.
They're not messing around.
Companies are real businesses.
Yeah.
So that's important to understand. And that's where the mindset shift begins, is that you have to realize you're dealing with real business people when you are trying to sell your music or get signed to a label. Because they'll eat you up otherwise. I've heard many times of artists being taken advantage of royalties and percentages and so forth, because they just signed it. Oh, wow, it's cool. It's not a record deal. They just have a record deal, but they don't really know what's in it.
Yeah.
They just think they're going to be a big star, and that's all they care about. Well, that, is never a wise thing, not understanding your business, because you are your business. Your music is your business. So you want to be the CEO, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the mindset shift needs to come into play. And you have to putting your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on. Is like, look, I've got to take charge of this and learn these business tools.
Yep.
So that you can have these conversations with these record company executives or publishing executives and understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, totally agree. It's something we say in the hacking music training. It's like you don't get a record deal until you don't need a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you build your platform for yourself, and it's succeeding already. It's already generating revenue, putting points on the board.
Yeah.
Regional tour, whatever it is, it's different for every artist, but it's like the labels come to you. It's almost like venture capital. It's like you're entering into a relationship with a venture capital firm rather than a label, because when you're entering into a venture capital relationship, you're already kicking butt, and this is growth capital now. It's like this is to scale and to hit a global audience. You're already winning, with the record label, call it venture capital relationship. You've got some dry powder and more reach and more relationships and more.
Right. Well, like artists have to, even before you sign a record deal, you want to know the company that you're signing with, because they are thinking about dollar signs. That's all they care about. You are their product.
The artist.
Well, yeah,
right. It's like a lot of time artists feel like I'm being untrue to who I am as an artist if I enter into e-commerce or product development or ClickFunnels. It's like, no, that's your job is to be the CEO of your company, and your widget, call it a widget just to take the music out of it. It's like your widget is your show or your recording or your music, but everything else underneath that, that's your platform. That's the stuff that strengthens and sells it. So
and it'd be the same if you're you have a YouTube channel.
Totally.
You want to make revenue or an income off of that. You need to understand the business language. You're signing some kind of deal, when you create that account. So those terms of service, monetizing it, you need to understand that and know what you're getting into before you just put it out there, because you're also partly giving up you're licensing them to use your music. You have to make sure that you're not giving ownership away. That's what you don't want to do. You want to retain all ownership of your music. So it's very important to read the fine print before you sign anything, whether it's creating a social media account or signing a legal contract with an attorney.
I saw after the last Grammys this year, it was, I think, 65% of all Grammy winners were independent.
Wow.
You know, it's like, it used to be like 55, 56, and it's like keeps growing and growing and growing. It's like record labels, the traditional record label relationship really is optional, if that's the right word. It's like it's there, but it really doesn't.
It's because there's less marketing people involved and less marketing dollars going into influencing the voters and all the behind the scenes wrangling that goes on at the Grammy organization or the Recording Academy. I think they're being more authentic now, and because it's out there on social media, you know, they're having to be more considerate of people of color now, because there's more of those nominations. You know, and also the record companies have a lot less influence than they have in the past, just in general, because people are being successful as independents. I was just reading one yesterday. I was reading a post from MTSU. One of the alums is a graduate of the music business program there, but he apparently had over 1 million views, listens of his song on Spotify. No record deal, not signed anywhere. He did it on his own. It's all organic, just through him hustling on social media and through his contacts, spreading the word. So it's possible, you know, to have success even with a single like that. You can do that on your own. So, but I would say though, it's also very helpful to have the education. I never want to discount the college education.
I mean, talking about that, I mean, do you think universities, it's like there's just so much on YouTube, so much free sitting right out there. You spend $100,000
to have that, but the benefit of the college education is that it provides structure. So it starts with the foundation. Here are the principles that you need to learn, and it builds on top of those principles to more advanced training. So for example, one of the courses I had, first course I had in music business at Middle Tennessee State was like an introduction to the music business, which I needed so badly because I had no clue. And it was partly the business training and also partly the engineering, because there was those two separate tracks of training. So you got an introduction to both before you even had to decide which track you wanted to pursue. So, you know, we were there in their 50 channel recording studio playing with the knobs and the wires and so forth. I got to do that, you know, my first semester of college there. And I'm like, well, no, I think I like the business part of it better. But I mean, that helped me to make that decision, because my dad was like, go get an education, but learn the business. That was what my father drilled in me. And, but I enjoyed that at the same time. I just knew that I didn't want to be an engineer. So it helps though, because also learning the legal aspect of it, that's the most important thing. You're learning legal issues and how they were dealt with. And also there's just fascinating stories. I mean, every class I've taken, every music business class I've taken, I've learned fascinating stories of crazy things happening, you know, country music in particular, but all over the rock music scene. So you learn a lot. And if you like music in general, it's worth it.
And I think especially for newbies, this 17, 18-year-old kid, you know, who doesn't know what they don't know, it's helpful. But the thing that concerns me about traditional education is that it's all head knowledge. And the sooner you can get out and do stuff, like if I had to choose between being smart or being successful, that's an easy answer. You know, if I get in a studio or get on a tour or get in a PR firm or whatever, it's like that real world doing of the thing. We have a business unit that does music supervision called the Sync Center. And it's like, we've got 2 new interns, and, just getting them into a real world, real deal situation. They're going to learn tons doing deals rather than just reading blogs or listening to a podcast or whatever. I mean, that's all good. It's wrong with that. But it's like, man, if I get to do something in the real world, that wins the day from my perspective. I mean, that seems to carry the,
Sure.
Because we get smart, we can learn stuff all day, but it's about the doing and the actionality that is like, oh, that's how a sync license, a deal is negotiated. I'm immediately skyrocketed, 2 years ahead of myself. That's what concerns me about education, because it's like it moves so slow.
There's so much to learn, though. I mean, you have a lot to learn in the business, and I will say, looking back, I'm so grateful for the education I got, because I did get actual real world training, even in the classes, because these are people who had that experience. Like one of the professors was a radio promoter in the past, and so his class was radio promotion. So you learn the ins and outs of that. So there are some, legal terms you learn in there, some marketing terms as well. But he will work, he worked with students and would take them to the radio stations, and you get a tour, you get real world experience, you get a lot of group training, group projects, so that you have to work together as a team, which I really enjoyed, because I was able to feed off of other people, and the more heads together, the more successful you are. But it's what's great about this program, and you can say at Belmont as well, you get these hands-on training, and it's drilled in you. You have those amazing opportunities, and where, now they're the internships. They have great contacts for doing internships. So if you're not even sure about going full-time into being a music professional, you can get an internship with a variety of companies, where even the recording academy, a publishing company, a record company, a PR firm, radio promotions company. So there's tons of opportunities, and not just in Nashville, but you can go to New York or LA, and in some cases you can go internationally as well. So I would say, yes, get a 4-year degree if you can, but if you're able to be successful on your own, by all means, Godspeed, go right ahead. Just do it, jump into it. I like structure. I'm just a person who likes balance and structure, and so that's where the degree has helped me tremendously, because I'm also information junkie. I read news articles that's my thing. It's always been my thing. That's why I do media relations. And so that's not for everybody. You're passionate about performing live and getting out there on the stage, do it. Find venues to get yourself out there and just do it, and you can learn the principles along the way. You can learn how to be a business person without taking away from what your passion is. You want to be a performer.
Let me ask you this, Sherry. You mentioned team projects, and back in the day when Music Row was a thing, we would go down to Sony and we would write in the writer's room, and it was face-to-face. It was group hug, high touch type situations. For you in PR and media development and product development, and for us at Jetpack and the Sync Center and Hacking Music, so much of it is distributed now. What does that help you? Is that easier for you? Is that harder for you? What is that like you used to be in Nashville working at EMI face-to-face with artists. Now you don't get that face-to-face. You can't, maybe it's harder to connect and hear that story. Do you like well, the nice thing about it is that I don't have to always be in the room with them. If I could get photos, I can develop a story out of photos. Like I'm always asking my clients, send me photos. And make sure you get a photo with so-and-so or with the sun, just to show people that you were there. Get somebody to take a good picture of you. I have to train them on how to take a photo, make sure I have enough headroom and space that I can crop, that sort of thing. So those things, but if I'm like, hey, if you're in a group setting,
one thing I'll get up there or get somebody there to take a picture of you, because it's showing the activity, the action. You want to show action in the pictures that you send to the media. That's what makes the story interesting. So always think about, how can I make my story interesting? What am I doing? I'm on the go, blah, 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 not just being static. So that's what gets
What do you
people's
prefer?
attention.
In a perfect world, would you rather be face to face with a small group of people working on a project, or do you like what we're doing here? You're in Louisiana, or in Nashville.
Honestly, I personally like this because I like my space, and when I'm writing, I have to be undistracted. So if I'm writing a press release or developing something, but I also love group settings. If I'm in a chatty mood and we're like, there's a vibe there, you kind of sense it. You want to just feed off of what's going on in the moment. That's how great songs are written. So people will get together and maybe have a few drinks and write a great country song. Yeah. So both work. I think both work. Both methods work. So you have great collaborators, great songwriting collaborations over the decades, that they did that. I think that still works today. And it's for different aspects. Sometimes people just need to be alone and get something.
Yeah. Love it. So Sherry, if people want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
You can, first of all, go to my website. It's parfaitmedia.com, and it's parfait like the dessert. I tell everybody that. parfaitmedia.com. You can email me, Sherry, SHERRY at parfaitmedia.com. You can also call me. I have a Nashville phone number and a New Orleans number. And so those are on the website. Feel free to call me anytime. And if you want to talk, I do free consultations, and I work with people, I work with your budget. I want to see people succeed. That's my passion, whether it's an artist, a small business. I'm, a storyteller. I just love telling stories. So if I find it interesting, I want others to hear about it. But please feel free to call me anytime or contact me however you can.
That's awesome. Well, Sherry, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you carving out time to talk about real world stuff in the new music marketplace. So anything else you want to share before we
Yes, do a lot of reading, you guys. Read John's book, Hacking Music at the Music Business Model Canvas. I have to say, John, I really genuinely enjoyed reading the book. I learned a lot, especially in how much the music business has evolved over the past few decades. And I understood it. I mean, it helped me kind of build on my education from, wow, okay, so I got these principles. I understood that. Yep, that made all sense. It was, in my mind, it made perfect sense. It was correct. And also, wow, it was fascinating. And also hearing the stories in the book, toward the end of the book, these songs and how they came to be. So I know everyone who reads it will learn a lot from that. So I would say go and buy John's book. Hacking Music, and thank you for writing the book. Thank you and the team for writing it.
It's very
helpful tool.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. I mean, it's very much a part of our mission.
My dad is reading it now. He's a songwriter.
Is it really?
He's actually reading it. Yes.
Our mission is to replace the great artists we've lost with the next generation of healthier artists. So it's very much part of our DNA and why we get up every morning. So I appreciate you. Your thoughts on that. Yeah. Awesome, Sherry. Thank you so much for joining us here.
I appreciate it.
I look forward to getting this into the world and hearing everybody's thoughts on it. So thank you.
Great. Happy to share. Thank you, guys. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Sherry.
Best of luck.